In this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to double your email signups by designing and launching pop-up forms that actually convert. We took one of our clients' pop-ups from capturing just 1.9% of site traffic to over 10% of site traffic in less than 2 weeks. With the rising cost of CPMs and increased competition, e-commerce brands have to do everything they can to increase the efficiency of their advertising. The best way to do that is, and probably always will be, email marketing. That's why it's so important to have an email list that you own outright, that you can market to for pennies on the dollar. This allows you to increase your customer lifetime value, revenue, and profits without having to dump more money into advertising. And the gateway to growing your email list is through an effective pop-up form. So make sure to stick around as I give away all of this free game. So before we start, who am I and why am I qualified to speak on this? My name is Philip Moldovanu. I am the co-founder of Social Scout. We are an email and SMS marketing agency specializing in D2C e-commerce brands. That's all we work with. All of our clients consistently hit 40 to 60% of their total store revenue coming just from Klaviyo. I pulled some screenshots here. 54%, 48%, 47% coming from Klaviyo. The list goes on, but that is a little bit about me. So why are pop-up forms important? Why should you care about them? Why am I making this video? Well, pop-up forms are by far the highest leveraged piece of your entire email marketing strategy. If you were to change one thing and one thing only about your email strategy, I would tell you to touch your pop-up form. If you think about it, the majority of your site visitors, they're gonna leave your site without purchasing anything. I think the average e-commerce conversion rate is anywhere from like 2 to 3%. So 97% or more of the people who come to your site are just going to leave. And instead of letting these people slip away into the abyss, you can capture the email addresses of these site visitors, approximately 8 to 10% of them, and you can retarget them for cheap, right? And to give you an example of why pop-up forms are so high leverage and why they're so high impact, if you, for example, have a form with a 2% submission rate, making, let's say, $5,000 per month, if you take that submission rate from 2% to 6%, your welcome flow overnight basically is now generating $15,000 a month by only touching the form. The reason it went from 5,000 to 15,000 is because you've tripled the submission rate, you've tripled the amount of people going through it, and now there's 3 times as many people going through your welcome flow, which means triple the revenue. And all you did was touch the form, you didn't even touch the actual flow yet. So it's extremely high leverage, and watch this video to the end. I'm gonna give you all the sauce on what to do. All right, so here are the 8 most common mistakes that I see with pop-up forms pretty much every time I do an audit on an e-commerce brand. These mistakes are just killing sign-up rates, butchering submission rates. So let's talk about them. Number 1, your offer just isn't strong enough. So people, you have to understand, are pretty selfish nowadays. People are very sensitive to websites asking them for information. So, your offer needs to be something that people will actually care about, right? It needs to actually get people excited. People don't go around to random websites just giving their information out for no reason. Ask yourself, right? When was the last time you gave a company your email or your phone number for absolutely nothing in return, right? I'm willing to bet you probably don't remember the last time you did it because you've probably never done it, right? And so this right here is a bad example of what to do. If you're just simply saying like, hey, sign up for my newsletter, sign up for exclusive updates, sign up for the latest product offerings, that stuff just is outdated. Like no one really cares anymore. And your competition is most likely giving some type of discount. So it's just not going to work to not give anything, right? So don't do something like this. This is an example of what to do. This is a good example. We have a mystery discount. We're giving them something. We're actually adding some anticipation by having it be a mystery discount. If you're one of those people who, maybe you don't want to run a discount, that's totally fine. You don't have to. I do recommend it, but you don't have to. Some other ideas, you can do an enter to win raffle. You can do like a free guide or a free training in something related to your industry or your niche. Or you can do like early access to a product release or a new collection. That's pretty much last on the list. Try to do a discount if you can. It's moral of the story here. And it doesn't have to be something crazy like 15, 20% off. It can even be 5% off or $5 off, just something to get people excited, right? So mistake number 2, your time delay on your form is too fast, right? So your form is just deploying too fast. So nobody likes being hit with a pop-up the second they land on a site, especially cold traffic when these people most likely have no idea what you sell. They've probably never seen your brand before if they're cold traffic, and you're just hitting them with this form. It's just not going to be received well because they don't even know if they want to buy from you yet. And you're already basically like begging them for information. It just comes off weird, hurts the user experience, and it's just not great for conversions, right? You want to give visitors at least 4 to 10 seconds to explore your site before you deploy your pop-up form, right? This way, you're actually giving people like a chance to see something they might like first, right? You're giving them a chance to see something that piques their interest before you ask for their information, right? It's going to make them a lot more likely to actually give you their email if they maybe saw a product they like that they're considering purchasing. So the one exception to this is if you sell like very low ticket items, I'm talking like under, $15, $10, and you sell them through organic channels like TikTok and like Instagram Reels, you might want to play around with an immediate pop-up form. It might work better for you just because in my experience, the traffic coming from like TikTok is usually very like quick because their attention spans are all just like destroyed. Try out an instant deploy. It might work better for you, but if you're not like ultra high ticket, it almost is never better. So mistake number 3, too many input fields, right? I've actually tested this, and the more information you ask for in your form, the lower your submission rate actually becomes. You only want to ask for one piece of information at a time. People have very short attention spans. They're intimidated easily. When someone lands on a site and then the form appears and there's, 5 empty boxes of information, they might not even read all of the boxes, but just instinctually, it feels kind of intimidating, right? It feels like you're asking for so much of them, of so much of their data, right? And it's kind of off-putting. People will kind of see that and just click off. So you want to keep it simple. This is an example of what not to do. These people are asking for email, birthday. For some reason, they're asking for zip code. Don't do that. You want to ask for email on the first slide. And if you're collecting SMS, collect SMS on the second slide. Never have them in the same slide. Mistake number 4, not using a micro commitment. So there's a million names for a micro commitment. Basically what it is, it's when you simply ask the shopper first if they would like to unlock a discount. So you're not showing the email box like right out of the gate. You're basically just asking them, hey, do you want 10% off? Hey, would you like to unlock 10% off, right? Once they commit, and they click yes, and they go to the next step in the form, that's where they can enter their email address. Okay, so the reason this is so effective, the reason this works is because it lowers their guard, and they're gonna be a lot more likely to actually follow through and give you their email address since they've already committed, right? They've already started the task. It's kind of the psychological principle of commitment bias. Once someone started a task, they're gonna be a lot more likely to finish it, right? So you're getting them to start the task by clicking the button and being in the middle of the process. So definitely try that out. Guarantee you that will help increase submissions. All right, mistake number 5, not having a teaser. This is a big one. Teasers are pretty much proven to increase submission rate. It basically is the little kind of like, smidget of the form that appears when someone closes out of the form. Without a teaser, if someone gets your form, right, if your form deploys for them and they click X, without the teaser, the form will just disappear, right? So what if, later down the line, they're still on your site and they maybe see a product now that they really like, and they're like, oh shoot, maybe I do want that 10% off, right? If you don't have a teaser, there's really no way for them to get the form back. And the average shopper is not gonna think to scroll all the way down and go to your footer form and enter their email there, right? So they're probably just gonna leave and go somewhere else. So you wanna have that footer there just in case people change their mind. Also, it's just nice to have to always be there in case someone wants to take advantage of the discount. Mistake number 6, your offer is just unclear. So I see this one all the time. It's actually more common than you think. You might have an offer that people actually want, but people just aren't seeing it, right? It's kind of silly, but your incentive should be immediately visible. As soon as they see the form, it should be the first thing they lay their eyes on. In a world where TikTok and Instagram kind of like rule people's attention spans, you need to get your point across very quickly, especially because the average shopper is scrolling around on multiple tabs at one time. It's not just your brand they're looking at. They're kind of trained to like instantly X out of forms. So you want your incentive to be very visible, right? It should be the first thing they see. And again, I use this example again. These people are offering 10% off, but it's kind of hard to spot, right? At first glance, you don't really know they're giving you a discount. It's in this kind of like small texted sentence here, which should be the first thing in the form. It should be the biggest headline on the form that they're giving 10% off, right? Definitely make sure your offer is super clear. All right, now mistake number 7, this one's pretty simple. You just have too much going on, right? So in other words, your form might just be a mess, right? You might have an incentive, you might have a good time delay, you might have all the good, bells and whistles, but it's just designed wrong. It just looks poor. It just looks kind of like off-putting to the shopper, right? It's not easy to look at. It's kind of an eyesore. An example of that would be this, like clashing colors, lots of clutter, big text blocks, that type of stuff. It's not exactly easy on the eyes. You want to make it easy to look at, make it simple, easy to lay your eyes on. So just avoid kind of like, clashing colors and throwing a million things on there. Generally, less is more when it comes to pop-ups. And mistake number 8, running the same form on desktop and on mobile. So I see this all the time. You want to have a separate form for mobile and a separate form for desktop. So the reason for that is just because you want to make sure that the sizing and, the layout of the actual forms are proportional and they fit the screen properly. Like for example, if you're using the same form on desktop and mobile, a lot of times the mobile view will kind of look weird. It'll be stretched in weird ways. The text won't be big enough. So you want to make separate forms for that. I make a certain form for desktop and then I copy that form to mobile and I edit the width and I edit the text size and I make the buttons bigger so that it actually fits the screen right and the buttons are visible and it looks just normal, right? It looks right. You definitely want to have separate forms for that. We're going to cover how to do that in the next segment. All right, now let's do a live walkthrough together on how to actually build a high converting pop-up form step by step in your Klaviyo account. So you're gonna navigate over to sign up forms in your account. Obviously I've blurred some things for privacy reasons. You're gonna go over to create form. Typically what I do is I just use a template to start. We're gonna heavily modify it but it's always nice to get kind of like the skeleton going. So go ahead and click this one here. I usually name it social scout, whatever it is, right? This one's going to be 10% off. We're going to do desktop first. Okay. Always do desktop first. Choose a list. I'm just going to choose this list, whatever your main list is that you want people added to. Obviously choose that one. You're going to want to always make sure you're including a teaser. Okay. And then your SMS subscriber list, make sure it's linking to your actual SMS list. This form is not going to have an SMS component to it, but I'll tell you what you can do if you want to have that. So go ahead and click create form. All right, so we're in the form builder now. What we're going to do is click here. So we have the desktop view. Typically what I like to do first is make sure that the form is actually deploying for desktop only. Okay, so this is going to be the desktop version of the form. We want to make sure it's set to display on desktop only. Okay, so make sure that's checked, and we'll come back to this later, but I always like to do that first just in case I forget. All right, so now that we have that set, let's actually go ahead and edit the actual form. So what I like to do first is kind of just set the colors. So I want this form to be black with white text, okay? So what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to start changing the background. I want it to be black. So if you have like an exact color in mind, obviously just put that code here. But for me, I just want a simple black background. Now what I'm gonna do is start editing the text, okay? So I want this to be a micro commitment. I don't want to ask for their email first. And I also want my offer, it's going to be a 10%, but I'm going to call it a mystery gift to kind of build some anticipation. I strongly recommend you try that. So we're going to say, we've got a mystery gift for you. Okay. Now we're going to highlight this, and I want the font to be Montserrat. Let's do this one. Yep. And then I want the font size to be 35. Let's see, just kind of play around with it. Let's see, for me, I kind of like 30, 33. Yeah, I think 33 is good. Now I want the text to be white, so I'm going to edit that right there. We've got a mystery gift for you. I don't like how it's so thick. I want to change the font here to Montserrat. Normal. I want to bold mystery gift. Yep, I like that. Okay, cool. Now we're gonna go ahead and delete this text block. We don't really need that. Now what I wanna do is have a preference section where I basically just ask, you know, are you shopping for male, female, or both? Just to kind of make people feel more included, make people feel special. I've tried that out a bunch recently and it works really well. So what we're gonna do is we are going to add block. We're gonna go to radio button, drag that in right above the email sign. We're gonna name this, are you shopping for ? You can't see it because the text is still black. So I'm going to go to styles menu and I'm going to wait and let it take me there. And then I'm going to change the label color, which is basically like the font color, to white so you can actually see it. Okay, so there we go. Now you can actually see it. Now we're going to go back. Are you shopping for ? Value. So here you're going to search preference, and label 1 is going to be male. Value is going to be male. Basically, this is just assigning values. So if someone clicks male, under their profile, it's going to have their value as being assigned to male. Like that's what they chose, basically. That's what we're doing right now. So second option, female. Then we're going to add property. Let's do both. Okay, so we have that. I don't really like how this text block and this radio button block are like so close together. I'm not a huge fan of that. So you can either adjust the padding on the bottom of this text block or the top of this one. So I'm going to do the bottom of this one. So what we're going to do is scroll all the way down and you'll see the padding section here. Let's try 20. So that looks a little bit better. I want it still a little bit more. Let's do like 25. I don't like how close it is. We've got a mystery gift for you. You know, radio button looks good. You can go ahead and delete this section. We're not actually asking for email yet. And then what I'm going to do here is edit this button. So I want the button to say something like unlock now. And then I want the text to be a little bigger. And I want the button color to be something like red, some type of like hot red, something like this. And I'm just kind of speeding through it right now. What you would do is kind of just figure out what exact color your brand is and, you know, choose that one. But I'm just kind of like eyeballing it here for the sake of time. Now we've got this section kind of built out. We obviously need to change this ugly looking product photo here, you know, stock image. So what we're going to do is just click on it. I'm going to select an image here. I'm going to select this one. There we go. So now we kind of have the skeleton built out. We have the design. We have the micro commitment. We're going to rename this to micro commit, just whatever you want to name it so you know. So we have teaser, micro commit. We're not going to have an SMS opt-in, me personally, for this form because this client doesn't actually collect SMS. So now that we have the micro commit, what we need to do now is create the next step where we actually ask for their email. Okay. So what I like to do is just go here and clone this step and just name it email opt-in. Clone it. It'll give you the same exact thing, obviously. So what we're going to do here is just remove the radio button section because we obviously don't need that anymore. And we're gonna add an email input section, just like that. And people can enter their email address and they can unlock now. So very easily, we've built the teaser, we've built the micro commitment page, and we've built the email opt-in page. Now, lastly, we need to build the success page, like the message that people get after they sign up. So this is what it looks like currently. Obviously don't want that. We're going to delete this. You can delete this. And let's just stick with this one. Let's say something like, welcome to Engine, which is the name of this brand. So I like to kind of do some fun stuff here. You know, depends on your branding, but I like to do stuff like this. Add some emojis there, make it look a little fun. Congratulations, you joined our list. This text is too big, which is why it's getting cut off. So make the font smaller. Also, we want this to be Montserrat. And we want the text color to be white. All right, welcome to Engine. Check your inbox for a gift. You can do it like this. And obviously replace this image again with the image you've imported. You might have to play around with the image. They're kind of annoying sometimes, but just find one that fits the right size. So, okay, there we have it. Teaser, micro commitment, email opt-in, and success message. Okay, now we're not done yet. We need to add some targeting. So this is pretty straightforward. Don't let it confuse you. Basically what you're gonna do here, this is your time delay. I'm gonna uncheck this when a visitor is exiting the page. What that does is basically when their cursor is moving up to X out the tab, Klaviyo will deploy the form, right? Now, normally that's a good thing. We want to have that. It's called an exit intent form, but for the sake of this form, this is something totally different. Normally what I do is I create a totally separate form for exit intent. So uncheck that. You know, for this, we're gonna keep the delay to 5 seconds and then uncheck this. We don't want any scroll parameters on there. And then this, I usually change it to 3 days. Basically, if someone comes on the site and closes the form, it's not gonna show that form to them until 3 days later. Desktop only, just double check that. And that's really it. And then on this page, you don't really want to touch anything there. All right, so that is basically how you build the desktop version. Now let's build the mobile version. So we're going to go back out to the sign up form page. I'm going to find the form that I just made, the desktop version, and I'm going to clone it, okay? So clone to this account, continue. You'll notice it just popped up right here. I'm going to edit this form. This is kind of like the skeleton we're going to use for the actual mobile version. So the teaser pretty much stays the same, but what you're going to want to do is go back to the targeting and make sure that you're checking mobile only this time because this is the mobile version, right? So mobile only, teaser pretty much stays the same. You don't really have to change much there. I just like to say grab 15% off. Show the close button just so we're not being annoying. And then go back to this stage. This is looking good, but now that it's the mobile version, we can kind of stretch things a little bit. So we've got a mystery gift for you. Let's see how 40 looks. We can just make the text a little bigger. So let's play around with it and see what works. We don't want to make it too big, but let's try like 36. Okay, looks good. Now I want this text to be a little bit bigger. So go to styles menu. Let's make the text. Let's try 20. Yeah, that looks better. So 20, let's do 19. 19. Now this button, we can make a lot bigger. We want that to pop, especially on mobile. So let's do 64. And then let's make the text on the actual, unlock now text. Let's make that 20. 25. 25 looks good. We've got a mystery gift for you. Are you shopping for male, female, or both? Unlock now. Cool. Email opt-in message. So this, again, we just want to go through and make the actual button a little bit bigger, make the text a little bit bigger, make everything a little bit bigger. Welcome to Engine, check your inbox for a gift. And there you have it. So here are 7 different A/B tests that you can run in your Klaviyo account once your form is live to make sure that that submission rate is constantly climbing and you're figuring out what works best. Number 1 is your offer. Pretty obvious. It starts there. Play around with a 5%, play around with a 10% off, play around with $10 off, maybe like a free training guide if you don't want to give off and give that incentive away. So play around with this and test out what works better and what resonates best with your audience. Number 2 is a pop-up versus a full screen. Okay, so I'm sure you've seen those forms that take up the entire screen when you land on a site. Those convert very well, but they can be kind of annoying. They can hurt the user experience a lot. So you want to find a happy medium, test it out for yourself, and you might be one of those brands that can get away with it. Number 3 is the time delay. So again, testing your form, showing it quicker versus showing it longer. The sweet spot, like I said, is anywhere from 4 to 10 seconds, but play around with it and figure out what your audience likes best. So next is the actual copy. You can play around with this, basically like how you present your offer. Again, you want to be very concise with it, but there's different ways you can position it. Also, a mystery discount is a great thing to do. That's the form we just built together. That works really well, but for some brands, it's better to just kind of give the 10% off immediately. So you have to test to figure out if you're one of those brands. Then there's the actual image. So is the image you're using hurting your submission rate? Is it not stimulating enough? Is it boring? Or is it too bright? Is it kind of off-putting, right? You want to play around with that. And finally, a micro commitment step. You might be one of those brands that actually performs better without a micro commitment. I've seen that before. Some brands, especially like lower ticket brand, it's better to just get right into the incentive. But the only way to figure these things out, guys, the moral of the story here, is you need to be running A/B tests constantly on your form. And that's everything you need to know about creating high converting pop-up forms for your e-commerce brand. Now that you know how to make a pop-up and start capturing customers, you're gonna need to know how to write emails that engage and entertain, create flows that convert, and manage deliverability for inboxing. All of this so you can convert email addresses into loyal customers in your Klaviyo account. And there's a lot that goes into a retention marketing system for your e-commerce brand, which is honestly hard to do by yourself. So if you want a team of experts to come in and help you build your brand through email and SMS, feel free to book a chat with me in the first link in the description, and we'll do a full in-depth audit on your brand together. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.